The Nashville Predators lose a game, lose a critical roster player, but perhaps add a new face to the lineup. A lot happened this weekend, and we're going to cover it all on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everyone. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Monday, this game day episode, shouting out our Locked On Predators insiders and our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Well, over the weekend, the Nashville Predators played pretty well against the Vegas Golden Knights Saturday evening, but same problems continue to plague this team, and it ends in a loss. We're going to break down that game, including our one word to describe the loss. Nashville also lost one of their key players in that game. We're going to tell you what we know about the injury so far, and we're going to talk about the performance of Eustace Onanen in net. Plus, Nashville, big signing over the weekend. Emma, could we be seeing a new face on the ice in these last few weeks of the season? We're going to talk about that as well. A lot to get to today, Emma, but, as always, it feels like, gotta start this episode off recapping a loss because we can't have nice things this season. Nashville Predators lost over the weekend to the Vegas Golden Knights. It was an interesting game, Emma, because this was one of those games where I felt like, the Predators didn't play terribly. It wasn't a horrible performance by the Nashville Predators. It was just a better performance by the Vegas Golden Knights. Nashville Predators lost that game 3-1. Emma, if you were to describe this game in one or more words, how would you recap the loss to the Golden Knights?
I think at this point, we've talked about this before, that these games for Nashville, obviously they're not meaningful in terms of, a playoff spot in the standings, whatever. They kind of are where they are. And I think that was very evident in watching this game, is that there was just no urgency and like the whole idea of, oh, you still got to play, you still got to give the effort, as if this was a meaningful game. At the end of the day, I think you just can't fake it. You can't fake that kind of urgency. And I think that's kind of what we saw. Is just,
yeah,
it's like Philip Forsberg had said the other night against St. Louis, which is like, well, this game showed why we are where we are and why they are where they are, because it's just like there is no urgency. And like you said, it wasn't terrible, especially defensively. I would say they actually played a pretty good game, but overall it was just like, we as the media, I feel like, are kind of in that final stretch of the season where we're like, all right, just 8 more games, or whatever it is. But
Yeah.
it feels like the players are there now too, and that's just kind of what it looked like.
Yeah. No, I would agree with that. You were missing some components. You were missing some performances for some people. And we're going to talk about this coming up a little bit later. But yeah, it is hard to manufacture urgency when you are where the Predators are, and when you have been where the Predators have been all season long. This Nashville Predators team has been basically in this same situation for 70 some games. Like, it is tough. My one word is actually one word, and it's along the exact same lines that you're talking about, Emma. My one word is chronic. This season has been a season of chronic issues. The definition of chronic: persisting for a long time or constantly reoccurring, long lasting, and difficult to eradicate. And, when you're talking about something like a health issue, you can have a chronic health issue, which is just this lingering, nagging health issue, or you can have an acute health issue, which is like emergent. Nashville has a chronic hockey issue this season. You know, again, not a terrible game against the Vegas Golden Knights, but just it was a chronic loss. It was the same kind of thing. I would agree with you defensively. I thought looked better. Andrew Burnett shouted out a lot of the younger defensemen, really felt like they stepped up. But, veterans, not consistent. That's something that we have seen chronically all season long. Um, you know, Nashville Predators, I don't know how many times we can say this. They can't buy a goal. This team cannot score goals. They cannot score goals. And this has been a chronic problem for the Predators. And this game was just, another flare up of the same old hockey health issues that this team has dealt with for 70 some games. And it's, expected, still disappointing, you know.
It's getting to that point where it's like you do come to expect it at this point where it's like, okay, we know it's going to be a loss. Let's just don't make it too bad. Like, don't make it
Yes.
too bad. It's like, that's kind of where it is. I mean, defensively, like I said, I think they did well, but it's more like they did well considering. It's not even like, wow, that was just a defensive masterclass by the Nashville Predators. No, it was just like, that was a first place team in the Western Conference, and Nashville held them to really 2 goals and then an
Right.
empty netter. So it was like, considering, that's
Mhm.
pretty good. Now, if only they had played that kind of defense and, some offense, then maybe we
What
would have.
could have been?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating. It is, again, it's like there's no urgency, but on one hand, I get it because it's like,
What is
what are
there?
you gonna play for?
What is
Like,
there?
what? Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like I get it. The human side of me gets it, but at the same time, it's like this is just it's starting to get agonizing. It's like, I mean, in the spirit of March Madness, it's like, the final 5 minutes of a basketball game are just so long because all they do is foul. They just foul,
Yes.
foul, foul, and that 5 minute stretches into like 20 minutes. That's what these final like handful of games of the season feel like to me. It's like they're just fouling each other and it's just lasting forever.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just put us out of our misery at this
Yeah.
point.
Nothing is going to change the trajectory of this season. And I know Nashville keeps saying we want to do something where we have something to build on. You are running out of time to consistently build anything, quite frankly. You're just running out of time. I do think there are some players who are playing like they have something to play for. One of our insiders, Leonora, had a really good perspective on that. Her one word is turnover. She said, in the classic hockey sense, this team continues to get outplayed by doing stupid things like making turnovers. The season has been a great reminder that hockey is won or lost on the margins, with little mistakes costing a team immediately. But in a bigger picture sense, tonight felt like a turnover from the veterans to the youth stepping up. Stamkos, barely there, but Vange, ZLH, and Blankenberg looked great, as did Svetch. And that is something I am noticing in these games. And again, like you said, I get it. Like Jonathan Marchessault, Steven Stamkos, Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, they're not playing for a contract. They're not playing for a roster spot. They're not playing for playing time. They're not none of that. And I'm not at all implying that they are not great competitors and that they are content. I think they are so profoundly discontent that they aren't able to put anything together. But you do see players like Nick Blankenberg. Look, Nick Blankenberg is a top defensive pairing and he's quarterback in the first power play unit. That is probably not his destiny, but he is going to do everything he can with that opportunity because it will change what happens for him next season. Luke Evangelista, he is playing to prove he belongs on this team. Zachary Leroux does not want to do anything but play NHL games the rest of his career. Fedor Svechkov wants to be able to continue to improve his game at this level. But there is a little bit of complacency, you know. I can see what she's saying, and yet I don't necessarily think that it is I don't necessarily think that it is consciously like a YOLO, like, oh, well, with these
Right.
veterans. I
Right.
just think this season has been so traumatic for them that they almost just needed to end to dig out.
Yeah. And that I think is actually a very important point, is that none of this is conscious, none of this is
Mhm.
deliberate. Like no one is going out there like, okay, let me not try at all.
Yeah.
Like that's not the thought. I think it's just it is after a while very discouraging and very deflating when this keeps happening.
Yeah, it is. Coming up, interesting little twist at the start of the game when it came to goaltending for the Vegas Golden Knights. We're also going to talk about Eustace Onanen in net for the Nashville Predators. Plus, friends, Emma and I, we are not okay. Mr. Potato Head went down at the game. We'll talk about that as well. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is in full swing, friends, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on this action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That is 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to who is ultimately going to cut down the nets. The FanDuel app is simple and easy to use, and the best part is that when you win, you're going to get paid instantly. There's no waiting around. So check out all the action at FanDuel. Visit fanduel.com today and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, Emma, I actually got to sit and watch this game at home from my couch. I don't usually get to do that. You were live at the game, and we had kind of a fun text exchange because Aiden Hill actually played this game for the Vegas Golden Knights, which is interesting because he played the night before against the Chicago Blackhawks. That is not something that usually happens. Turns out that Emma and I speculated, this was not reporting, this was private speculation, that Ilya Samsonov may or may not have had diarrhea, or as my grandmother loved to call it, the scoots. That was not what it was. After warming up, according to the Vegas Golden Knights, he had something sort of tighten up on him, which sounds like the very opposite of the scoots. And so Aiden Hill jumped in and played his second game in the back-to-back. Dude looked great. Thanks for nothing, Aiden Hill.
Yeah. No, it was kind of funny because it was, obviously whichever goalie leads the team onto the ice for warm-ups, that's typically the starting goalie. So it was Samsonov led the Golden Knights onto the ice for warm-ups, and which not surprising again when Hill had just played the night before. It was going to be a big night for Samsonov. It was going to be his 200th NHL game. And he went out there for warm-ups and then he did not come back. And it was like, oh, okay, interesting. And again, there was no real acknowledgement of it. Like, hey, everyone, instead of Samsonov, it's going to be Aiden Hill. It was just like, no, Aiden Hill's starting the game. And we were all like,
Wait a minute.
did you just think we wouldn't notice or something? Like, oh. But then my sources tell me that I will say first, Samsonov was still there. He was still sitting on the bench in the backup position. So it's like, okay, so clearly he's not like completely unable because he's still backing up. If God forbid something happens to Aiden Hill, Samsonov would still come in. But that was just for the first period. After the first period, we did not see Samsonov again. And my sources tell me that the e-bug at Bridgestone Arena was told to get dressed. So could have been interesting if anything had happened to Aiden Hill. Thankfully for him, it did not. But yes, very interesting situation there. But I just thought it was so funny how they were like, yeah, no, Aiden Hill's starting.
Aiden Hill.
We're like, no, we know that was not
Yeah,
supposed
we
to
have
happen.
questions. We have
Yeah.
questions. Don't think we weren't going to notice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
seriously.
Yeah. So, yeah, Emma and I not great at speculating on the cause of Samsonov not starting, but we did find out later that according to the team, the phrase used was something tightened up during warmups, which sounds, again, directly opposite of what we were saying. But we did have Eustace Onanen in net, and friends, I know that Barry Trotz has made a lot of decisions that have made a lot of people scratch their heads this season, and rightfully so. Getting Justus Annunen to the Nashville Predators has not been one of them. And he, again, last night, you love to see what we saw from him in net. First of all, the save he had in the first period of that game, ridiculous save. And you asked, post game, he was asked about that save, and he's like, well, yeah, I saw a guy come down in my side, my side sight. And I was like, how you
And
all
then he
register
said,
that?
and then I just played hockey after that.
Like in-depth analysis from Justus Annunen, and then I just played hockey after that.
Yes.
It was incredible. I love that we are seeing Justus Annunen in net. Andrew Burnett was asked after the game about the performance of Annunen, and of course got a minute to talk with Annunen as well. Just want to play this clip, which kind of gives you an idea of what we may see in the remainder of these games when it comes to goaltending.
Yeah, I thought, well, he made an unbelievable save in the first period. I thought, he was solid. When he's quiet and you don't really know he's in there, I think those are always good things. I thought we defended really good in front of him, and when he had to make a couple of saves, he made them.
He's been getting more starts lately. What do you just like kind of overall about his performances down this stretch run?
Well, I think for us, we're just trying to get them, as we're going here and where we're at, and we're trying to get a really good look at him and try to get a really good feel for him and what he needs to work on this summer and going forward if he's got an opportunity to prove he's the guy and in that role. So I think he's grabbed it and he's played really well.
Yeah, of course it helps. What more you play, that more comfortable you feel out there. So of course it helps a lot.
I love that, Andrew Burnett is talking about, look, in this final stretch, we are going to see a little bit more of Justus Annunen, and that is because you want to know what you need to see from him in the offseason. You want to know what you want to see him work on, and I think that's great for Annunen too, because going forward, Emma, the Nashville Predators have to do a better job managing the goaltending load for UC Saros.
Oh, yeah. And I think that it's good. I mean, I hate that it took this, this bad of a season for them to finally take some of the load off of him. But especially now that they've given him that contract, you want that contract to age well. So let's maybe not overwork him and overuse him when we don't have to. And side note, that has absolutely nothing to do with hockey. We were saying at the game on Saturday, that hometown that he is from in Finland, same hometown as Pekka Rinne, they need to do some kind of a study, because it's like, does everyone who comes out of there, do they all have insanely deep voices?
Yes.
Because that's what it's weird though, very different accents, the two of them. You wouldn't guess that they were from the same place, but man, the depth of the voices, I'm like, they should be studied.
A lot of resonance.
Yes.
Very mellifluous. That's my SAT word of the day, friends.
Ooh.
I know. Look it up.
At that.
I don't know how to spell it, but you sound it out and look it up. So, yeah, loved that game from Justus Annunen. Let's talk about the thing that you and I did not love in this game, and that is just, we were talking about this pre-recording and just not thrilled about this. Colton Sissons injured in this game. And like I said, I was watching this game at home. And so Emma and I were talking about the different perspectives in arena and then on the TV broadcast. TV broadcast replayed the injury and then replayed it in slow motion, which is something that I have such a beef with the NFL when they do. And I have to tell you, last night I was like, there is nobody that needed to see that replayed again and again, and then in slow motion. Colton Sissons went down with what is, quote, a lower body injury. I attended 0 days of medical school, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it is an ankle injury. Very significant. Could not put any weight on his ankle, had to be assisted off the ice and down the tunnel. Of course, did not return. This is brutal, Emma. And Colton Sissons, again, one of those guys, what's he got to prove to anybody? Not a damn thing. But this is not a player you want to see go down like that, especially at this point in the season, in a game that really does not impact him individually or this team collectively. That was brutal, just horrible.
Yeah, not only was it an injury, like we were talking about this beforehand, I'm okay with blood, like in general.
Mhm.
I don't do well with limbs pointing in directions that they shouldn't. And that was the kind of situation that we had. In Arena, they showed the replay once and then they
Mhm.
didn't show it again. And I was perfectly content with that.
Yeah.
It was very unpleasant. He's a guy, he's not a very, emotive guy. He's not like, you're not going to really see based on his facial expression. You're not going to get a lot from him. He was writhing in pain. I
And
don't
he's tough, y'all.
he
Colton
is.
Sissons is tough.
I don't think I have ever seen an athletic trainer leap over the bench as quickly as Kevin Morley did when Colton Sissons went down. It was just, you knew as soon as
Yeah.
it happened. And it was just one of those fluke things, wasn't a dirty hit or anything like that. It just, one of those unfortunate situations. And again, not putting any weight on it at all. Did see him leaving the arena, still visibly in quite a bit of pain, still not putting any weight on it. Again, like you, attended 0 days of medical school. I can't imagine that this injury is not something that will require surgery of some kind. And like kind of the way we were putting it was like, man, this guy was 2 weeks away from being able to play golf every day. And now he's going to be rehabbing the entire
Yeah.
summer.
Yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
brutal.
it looked significant. Just,
Yeah.
I mean, that's my it is looking to be a significant injury. Of course, the Nashville Predators did not give any sort of specific update after the game. And in hockey, they keep things very, very vague. Lower body injury. I just don't suspect we're going to see Colton Sissons the rest of the season. And like you said, I think his offseason it just took a dramatic turn away from what he had planned. Very, very tough to see in that game. Another thing tough to see, Nashville Predators cannot score a goal. No, I lied. They can score a goal. A goal. They did have one called off for goaltender interference. So like partial credit, I guess, because technically a puck went in a net. Again, come back to those chronic conditions of the Nashville Predators this season. You watch the goals that Vegas scored, Jack Eichel, Riley Smith's goals. Those are kind of the take out the trash goals, like cleaning it up. Nashville does not score clean it up goals very well. Last season in 2023-24, Nashville was third in rebound goals for. Third. And you can look back and you can remember them. You remember so many people contributing to those take out the trash goals, as I like to call them. This season, Nashville is dead last in rebound goals for. They're not getting second and third chances. And when they are, it's just resulting in bupkis. It's just another chronic condition that we saw against the Vegas Golden Knights. Coming up, Nashville's going to have to figure out how to get it done against the Philadelphia Flyers, but there could potentially be a new face on the roster. Will we see this new player on the ice? We'll talk about that coming up. You have heard Emma and I talking often about our Locked On Predators insider community. Our insiders get a chance to chat with Emma and I beyond the podcast, from everything to asking questions, discussing draft and trade strategies, sharing one words to describe the games, and talking before, during, and after puck drop. If you are interested in joining our Locked On Predators community via subtext, you can check out the link in this video description, or you can check out the link in our show's bio. All right, Emma, some big news over the weekend. For those who are kind of keeping tabs on Nashville Predators pipeline, got some good news. Forward Matthew Wood, ladies and gentlemen, signed his entry-level contract with the Nashville Predators, and he has been officially added to Nashville's roster. Now, does that mean, Emma, that we are going to start seeing 13 minutes of ice time for Matthew Wood starting tonight in Philly? Yeah, probably not.
Probably not.
Probably
But
no.
I will say, with Colton Sissons now being out of the equation, maybe a better chance than there was 24 hours ago. But yes, Matthew Wood, fresh off of his junior collegiate season, played the first two with UConn, last one with Minnesota. When they were eliminated from the NCAA tournament, he signed his contract right quick and now has to report to Nashville. So very exciting. Obviously, Tanner Molendijk from the same draft class, also a first rounder, already signed his ELC. But that's, different rules because he's coming from the WHL and not from the NCAA. So they have different rules and regulations. The last time Nashville signed NCAA player, I believe, was Jake Livingstone. He was a free agent, though. He was not drafted, but signed him straight out of college. And again, he reported directly to Nashville. So and he got a little bit of a taste of the NHL too. So I'm sure, especially with this team being in the situation that they're in right now, I'm sure that we see Matthew Wood at some point make his NHL debut this year. I don't see him being like a major contributor this year, nor does he need to be, but still exciting. Get to see a little bit of what he can do.
Yeah, this is exciting. And again, like you said, where Nashville is, what is the harm? What's the harm in giving him a chance? He is one of Nashville's top prospects, top ranked prospects. He and Tanner Molendijk are kind of the top two in Nashville system when you look across the board at like just how they're nationally ranked by team. I really like Matthew Wood. I think he is so smart. He is such a smart hockey player. There's a lot of Matthew Wood. To like, he is not fun size. He is full size. He is the full size candy bar you hand out at Halloween. He's 6'4". And like you said, had a good season here with Minnesota, 39 games played, 17 goals, 39 points. He was tied for second on the team in points. He was tied for third in goals. So, this is just another opportunity to see a new face. Will he get in tonight? I will have to wait and see. Tonight, the Nashville Predators are on the road. They're on the road all of this week. They are headed to Philadelphia, a city that doesn't know a darn thing about drama, except they do. Except they do. The Flyers.
They are riding that post-Tortorella high right now. So,
oh my goodness,
who knows where you're going to get.
You all. So we talked last week about John Tortorella. No, we do not think that he is the right fit for Nashville. God go with him. Since firing Torts, the Flyers have won 2 games since the firing, 6-4, 7-4. So when you're talking about Nashville, the team that can't seem to score more than 1 goal, and you're talking about playing a team that scored 13 in their last 2 games, friends, what could go wrong tonight? So much, friends. So much. Yeah. And it's interesting because like you talked about, they're kind of riding this high, but it's not like there is a new coach with new eyes on these players. I mean, it's associate coach Brad Shaw that took over when Torts was fired. And yet there's a little bit of spring in the step. Matvei Michkov has had 4 goals in these 2 games. What does Nashville have to do, Emma, tonight to get a win?
Well, I don't really know necessarily how to articulate this. So I'm just going to try to talk it out here, but I'm thinking like they played against, St. Louis and then Vegas. Those are 2 playoff teams that they played against. And it's kind of, going into it, like we are not the same. We're not expected to win it. Again, I don't think the Predators are going into this like, guys, we don't have to try. Okay. But it's sort of this like subconscious understanding that it's like, okay, we are not the same. Philadelphia is not a playoff team. Now, they have not been officially eliminated like the Nashville Predators have, but they are not a playoff team. And so I think there's a little bit more parity there. And I almost feel like that makes you, if you're Nashville, you should want to prove something more there, that just like, hey, okay, we get it. Like we're both not playoff teams, but we're better than them.
Yes.
And I don't know if that makes sense at all, but in my head it does.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like this is a winnable game, and we need to show up and win it. There is something, you've got to prove something in this game. Again, they keep talking about, hey, we're looking for something to build on. Friends, clock's ticking. Clock's ticking. You might as well start tonight. Otherwise, the season's going to be over. And I do think a lot of it is going to fall on the veterans. Like I said, you know, and our insiders have said, we are seeing these young guys battling for something. I want to see the veterans battling for something. Philip Forsberg, Steven Stamkos, show up. And I don't mean that as harshly as it sounds, but you cannot be invisible. And there have been games with the veterans, and I'm just going to say broad strokes across the course of the season, and I'm talking all of the veterans, where you didn't know that they were playing. Jonathan Marchessault, there have been games where if somebody had said, hey, was Marchessault playing? You'd been like, let me think about that. Let me think about that. Veterans have got to show up tonight. They have got to lead this team. And it's the mental game, but it is also on ice. The veterans have to step up. And I get that it's hard. Show up tonight, guys.
Yeah, it's especially, you know, it's the front end of a back-to-back. They're in Columbus on Tuesday. It's, again, there's a lot of, this is where, you know, the veteran experience can kind of come in, because like the schedule, it's tough, especially this time of year. Everyone's tired, everyone's banged up, you know, there's kind of that, well, why are we even playing when we're not in the playoffs anymore? It's like, that's where the veterans have to step up and lead.
Yeah. We're going to see if they can do that tonight. Like you mentioned, this is the first of a back-to-back. Tomorrow, they are playing the Columbus Blue Jackets. Later this week, just for fun, they're going to go to Dallas and play the Dallas Stars. What could go wrong? We can hardly wait to preview that game, friends. As Emma hides her face, like, it's one of those games that we're going to watch through like our fingers, because like, do we want to stare directly at it? I don't know, but it starts tonight against Philadelphia. Tomorrow's game against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Fun little twist to this. And on tomorrow's show, we talk about it. Tomorrow's show, Max Hurst joins the show. He is giving us a behind-the-scenes look at tomorrow night's special Music City Hockey in Smashville animated program. It's going to be on Channel 5. Max kind of shares with us how this came about, how the NHL and the Nashville Predators and their partners put together a live called animated Nashville Predators game. It's a whole thing, you all. So you've got to tune in tomorrow and get all the inside scoop from Max about how that came to be. Before we log off today, Emma, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
You can find me watching the Predators from between my fingers, because I'm just scared of what might befall all of us. And you can find me on social media at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work online at The Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at ANK_Mama on Ice. You can find me in my office making get well cards for Colton Sissons. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. Friends, that's going to do it for this Monday, this game day episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for joining us and making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with that inside look, that sneak peek at this animated hockey game coming up tomorrow night. We'll see you then.